Hi, Assalamualaikum everyone. So today we have explored hutan paya pasir in Temerloh, and today we are going to discover some interactions in organisms in plants and for the subject process of ecology.
Here in nature, plants and animals interact all the time, but it can be a lot more complicated than just one thing eating another. These relationships between two different organisms can be examples of what we call symbiosis. Symbiosis can be defined as any kind of close, long-term biological interaction between two different organisms. These interactions can be mutualism, commensalism, or parasitism. Today, we are going to explore the amazing world of mutualism. Mutualism can be seen in most ecosystems and between all sorts of organisms, plants and fungi, animals and plants, or between different animals. In mutualism, two organisms which are a host and a symbiont are in a relationship in which both members benefit, potentially enhancing their survival, growth, and fitness. There are two main types of mutualistic relationships, obligate mutualism and facultative mutualism. In obligate mutualism, one organism cannot survive without the other. This term is easy to remember because both organisms are obligated or forced to rely on one another. In facultative mutualism, the partners may coexist without depending on each other. They, however, form a diffuse relationship involving a varying mixture of a species.
One of the examples for mutualism symbiosis is the interaction that occurs between ants with acacia plants. Acacia plants and ants are also mutualists, where they need to benefit from each other to get on with their lives. This interaction we can call it as an obligate mutualism. But how these two species give a benefit to each other? So let's watch it. The interaction between acacia plants and ants. Acacia plants have a hollow-edged stone which it is function as a shelter for the ants. This will be a home for a bunch of ants. In addition, acacia plants also provide food for ants when there are yellow swellings on acacia plants' leaves. This is the reason why ants like to live in acacia plants. Next, the benefit that ants give to the acacia plants is providing the protection when acacia plants disturbed with any insects or herbivores. Ants will act as a bodyguard by attacking the insects and herbivores. Ants also are aggressive animals, so ants will accumulate around acacia stems. Then the ant will swarming, beating, and stinging animals that come close to the acacia plants.
The next example of mutualism is lichen. Lichens are organisms that result from closely interacting organisms between a fungus and photosynthetic partner, such as green algae or cyanobacterium. Both photosynthetic partners can produce simple sugars by photosynthesis. In contrast, fungi are heterotrophic and require an external source of food.
This interaction is called as obligate symbiotic. The lichen thallus is built by the fungus who also provide the conditions for a stable and long-term relationship with their photosynthetic partners, which is the core of the lichen symbiosis. There is good evidence for the lichen symbiosis as a mutualism, in which both partners benefit from the relationship. It is clear that fungi obtain their carbon source in the form of simple sugars, but the photosynthetic partners also seem to be provided with optimal living conditions, in which their populations are often much larger than outside lichens. The photosynthetic partners also benefits from improved access to mineral nutrients which are provided because of fungal digestion outside their cells. Last but not least, the interior of lichens is often a place richly infused with complex secondary fungal chemicals found nowhere else in nature, and these compounds are likely to play a role in protection from UV radiation, desiccation, and grazing by herbivores as well.
Coral may look like a rock or plants in the sea, but they are actually marine animals. They typically form compact colonies of many identical individual polyps. Coral have been categorized as animals because they cannot produce their own food. There are many types of corals in the ocean that comes with astonishing shapes, colors, and sizes that come from the algae called zooxanthellae. Zooxanthellae lives in the tentacles of the polyps. As they grow, corals need their energy from the mutualistic relationship with zooxanthellae, which they both will get the benefits. The coral provides shelter and essential nutrients for the algae to use during photosynthesis, while zooxanthellae produce synthesized sugars which the corals feed on and produce oxygen as a byproduct. Like plants, zooxanthellae convert sunlight into food by photosynthesis that gives coral energy to grow, reproduce, and build hard skeletons around themselves. Other than that, they give coral beautiful colors as the coral polyps are almost transparent. However, due to the water pollution and high temperatures in the ocean, the corals can expel the algae and the coral bleaches and lose its color. And most importantly, they lose their source of food. Therefore, without the algae, the coral will die.
So now we're going to talk more about liana species. So liana species as known as a vine or climbing or climber plants, and this plant have a long and flexible climbing stem, and then it was rooted in ground. So now I'm going to explain more about liana species. So basically, liana species is promoting about the mutualism interaction inside the ecosystem. So first thing first, liana species will create bridge in the forest canopy. So it was like providing herbivore creatures or organisms access the forest. The second thing is the bridge also will help to protect the weaker trees in the forest from the heavy rain or a heavy wind. So as you guys know, like liana species need to compete with other trees to get sunlight. So when the liana species was climbing trees, so it was easily for liana species to get more sunlight, and then it was make it survivors in the forest. So this example that was liana species was climbing into the tree, so that was a best mutualism interaction, because like liana species also help the organism inside the ecosystem inside the forest, and also help the tree. So as you can see in the video that I make it, like it was like liana species also help people inside the forest if they need to take some water, because like inside the liana species have some water inside it. So if a person was like lost in the forest, so it still have water that can drink it. So it was a very good species that I have really loved it.
So, in summary, we can see that mutualism is a form of relationship that benefits species that interact with each other. Mutualism can come in a form of obligatory and facultative. This relationship is vital for the development of a stable community that ensure the growth and survival of species. You might say that mutualism is like any good human relationship. If you get along and help each other out, life is good.
Dari baik ke? Assalamualaikum. Hari ni kita orang masuk hutan lagi. Macam kartun je.
Enggak lah, muka aku ni minum air dah muntah.
Ni macam jungle trekking je, tapi sambil-sambil kita jungle trekking, kita dapat info yang baru, guys.
A process of ecology, BIO464.
Buang tadi siapa tak cakap kat driver?
Wah, indahnya. We find liana.
Kenapa ni? Shaking. Come on, group 5.
Apa tu?
Macam gigit kaki kita.
Duduk bagi nampak. Nanti dia akan close up betul satu. Satu duduk. Baru nampak.
Duduk elok sikit. Okey.
Bye. Tak nampak lah. Asal tak nampak. Asal macam gini sangat.
Prof yang bawa kita orang datang sini hari ni. Okey, itu je.